So, Steve, you've been playing a ton of Animal Crossing for, what, I think almost 3 weeks now? 2.5, something like that, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Maybe a little bit more than your average person.
Well, that's just perfect, because we have over 50 questions from our audience who are wondering all kinds of things about this game. So I figured we'd sit down and try to answer as many as we can so you have a better idea of what to expect when you get New Horizons later this week. Now, with that being said, keep in mind that while we are 2.5 weeks in Animal Crossing time, that really isn't all that long. So if we say that something doesn't appear to be in the game or we haven't seen something yet, that's not a definitive answer, as that could change down the line, whether just in time or through a downloadable update. With Animal Crossing, you never quite know for sure. With that out of the way, let's get to the questions, and I think we have about 50 of them here. So first up, we have one from Tim Nook, who asks, where are the gyroids?
You know what, Tim Nook? I should be asking you that question, man. I've given you a lot of bells. But more seriously, I don't know. In my review, if you've seen it, I mentioned that I haven't found one yet. And I refuse to believe that they're not in the game, but I literally have not found even a shred of evidence that they are. However, there is the caveat that Lloyd, the gyroid that helps you do public works projects, is in New Horizons, and he's still collecting donations to help make bridges get built or help staircases get built. So there is one gyroid, but the furniture types that we're used to, I have not seen yet.
Okay, this might be just one of many changes, but who knows? Again, he may reappear later, or they may reappear later, we don't know. Fabian asks, is Don Rossetti in the game? So I think that's what, Mr. Rossetti's brother?
I think so. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any Rossetti family member in the game at all. I'm not sure if they will appear. Now, again, there's a caveat here. If you use the rescue service, it is very heavily implied that that is run by Mr. Rossetti, from the way he speaks to the design of the helicopter, which you don't see the helicopter in game, but you do see the icon for it in your Nook phone, and it's wearing Mr. Rossetti's hard hat. So I don't think it's a huge leap to say that that's definitely him, but you don't actually see the character himself. You can, however, buy a poster of him if you scan his Amiibo.
Oh, well, that's something at least. Playtendo World asks, can you decorate multiple parts of the island? So I assume they mean like the beach and wherever you want, basically?
So yes, that's an easy one. You can decorate literally anywhere there's room to place an item. So my island has a rock outcropping where I put a barbecue grill and I put some coffee cups and some chairs. And my cliffs have pieces of furniture on them as well. I have a replica of Stonehenge next to my museum. So wow. Anywhere you want, except for the plaza. That is the one place you can't lay anything.
Okay, that's where like Tom Nook sets up the residential services, right? Okay.
You cannot place furniture outside of resident services.
Okay, good to know. Gabriel asks, the first time starting the game doesn't count as part of the day/night cycle, as we've heard. How soon after does the game start syncing with real-time clocks? Once you find a place for your tent and 2 other villagers, or can you save, quit, start the game and be in real time?
I would say it's not even 20 minutes. Like after 15 minutes or so of gameplay, but you are right. I think it's after you lay your tent, then you go back and talk to Tom Nook, and you can run around the island, but once you get your Nook phone, you're in sync with real time. So it's not a huge chunk of the game by any stretch. You should be able to finish it in about 15 or 20 minutes. Okay. Again, though, a caveat. If you're starting a new save on an existing island, you do not go through that first day.
All right, good to know. Yetis Are Us asks, who were your starting villagers, and is there any input as to who you might get?
My starting villagers, I had Rod, which is like a little mouse that's really into exercise, and Canberra, who is a koala. I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to how they are selected. I haven't tried to repeat the experiment or anything by inputting my name and birth date or whatever, but there's nothing that jumps out at me as being an obvious way that they're choosing these villagers.
Yeah, I have Teddy and someone else I forget, and yeah, you don't, as far as we know, you don't have any way of choosing them. All right, Ruby asks, how is Isabel?
She's Isabel. She's fantastic. So it takes a while to get her, but once you have her, she's just the same kind of can-do, optimistic character that she is in other games in the series. So if you're looking for a fundamental change to her, you're going to be disappointed. If you like her the way she was in New Leaf, then you're going to be very pleasantly... I'm not going to say surprised, but you're going to be very happy to see her in New Horizons.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more casually, or a lot bit more casually than you have, and I haven't even seen her yet. So, yeah, she does take a little while. HT Growing Heart asks, can anyone wear any style of clothing, or are they locked behind limited gender choices, if any? Stay incredible, GX.
Well, thank you. And, no, you can wear whatever you want. In my footage, and unfortunately, because there are limits on how much we can show, I wasn't able to fit in stuff, but I had my character try on dresses. I had him try on traditional clothing that was definitely meant for more feminine body types. But there's no limitation. You can wear whatever you want.
Yeah, and that goes for hairstyles too. It's you can basically appear however you want in the game, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think they did a really good job with representation in this game.
Drew A asks, do you still have a town tune and flag?
You do, but you do not get them until you have upgraded resident services from a tent to a building. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to tell you how to do that, but once you get those, then you are able to change your town tune and your flag.
Okay, perfect. Ash J asks, what is your favorite villager so far?
That is almost an unfair question, because it's always Rover, and it never will be anyone but Rover, and Rover's not in this game.
So that makes it easy,
at least
actually.
that I can tell.
Rover's not easy, it actually makes it harder.
I will be more definitive. Rover's Amiibo does not work in this game.
Okay.
But so far, my favorite villager on my island has to be Canberra, just because I like koalas, and he's kind of neat.
Nice. Mine's Teddy. He's one of 3 villagers I have currently. But he likes to work out, and he's my favorite friend. All right. Denzel, we have 2 questions actually, 2 related questions. Denzel asks, is Froggy Chair in? And this guy asks, how easy/hard is it to get the Froggy Chair?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot answer these, and not because I've been told I can't, but because I have not found the Froggy Chair. Now, as you well know, there's tons of different furniture and clothing in Animal Crossing, so me not having seen it means almost nothing.
Right. It's probably in there somewhere, but we have no idea. Alex Salinas asks, are there any Nintendo items, like how Animal Crossing New Leaf had fortune cookies that gave you the Master Sword, etc.?
So far I have not found any, but... Yeah. Given that that's kind of like a weird, again, like with the gyroids, I refuse to believe they're not in there. Keep hope alive, but I'm saying that strictly as a fan.
Yeah, I would assume if they're not inherently in the game, they're probably tied to some event or some future feature to be introduced. But that's just my own speculation. Exit Globe asks, how do you use Amiibo?
So there are 2 ways that I know of. Who knows if there's more, but the 2 ways that I've discovered are to go to Harv's Island, to go to Photopia, which they've shown in a previous direct, and you can scan Amiibo there and it will populate the character if they're supported to take a picture with you. The other way is once you unlock your campsite on your island, you will gain a function through the Nook Stop, which is like a machine that's in resident services that will let you scan a supported Amiibo to invite that person to come to your campsite. So those are the 2 ways I know of. There could be more, but I'm not sure.
Speaking of Amiibo, Tyler Quill asks, do Amiibo outside of the Animal Crossing series have any special functionality?
Stay tuned, Tyler.
Yeah, we're actually going to go test that like right after this, so... Dan Palmer asks, with the multi-layered landscaping we can do, is it possible to make a waterfall that flows down multiple layers?
Stay tuned. So, I know you guys can't see me, but literally right now, my girlfriend is helping me, and she's testing that functionality as we speak, so I will lay money that there's a video answering that question on the channel soon.
Excellent. Sean Garrett asks, here's 2 questions if that's okay. It's not okay, Sean, so we're answering none of them. I'm kidding, we'll answer both of them. Are there any signs of paintings? And how about the cafe? If you can answer those anyway.
I have not seen either. Red has not shown up on my island. I don't know about you, Andre. Have you seen Red?
No, I have not.
So, not definitive either way because I know of other NPCs that haven't visited me. For instance, I haven't seen Celeste yet, and I know she's in the game.
I've seen her, yeah. She appeared in my island.
Right. So our experiences differ. So it's not like, at X number of days, you definitely get this person, because I haven't had the same experience. But that said, I just can't tell you one way or the other. I haven't seen evidence of Red or of the cafe at all yet. Not even a mention from anybody.
Yeah, keep in mind, we are still only 2.5 weeks in, which feels like a lot, but it really isn't Animal Crossing time. So, Carter asks, do you choose your native fruit this time?
You do not.
Okay.
And I have been struggling with that because everywhere I go, I see peaches.
You mean little butts?
Well, yeah, little tiny fruit butts.
King Avery asks, are there any crops you can grow like vegetables, and are there caves?
I have not seen a cave. I've been to several islands and I have not seen one. I don't want to definitively say it, but speculatively I'm saying no, there are not caves, because I feel like that's a mechanic thing that you would have on every island if it were possible. And as for crops, I have not seen any vegetables. The Nook phone hasn't told me anything about growing vegetables, and I feel like that's another thing I would have heard of by now, but could be wrong. But I don't think so. I think, again, speculatively, I would say that it's probably no on both of these.
Okay, King Avery snuck in another question and is wondering, can you ride the bikes?
I have not gotten a bike yet. I've played a lot and I haven't gotten a bike, but I have seen bikes, but I have not seen anyone ride them. And when I say I've seen bikes, I mean I have seen other people playing this game early that have bikes that have not been able to ride them. So I'm going to go ahead and speculate that the answer on this is no.
Austin K asks, what actions require you to have eaten, and does it include terraforming?
It does not include terraforming, and I'll discuss that more in a video on this channel. So the only two things I'm aware of that require you to eat are uprooting trees with your shovel and breaking rocks with your shovel. So if you want to cause some real mayhem and just literally tear stuff up, you're going to need to eat first.
If you break a rock, does it ever come back, or what happens there?
So I've only broken rocks on islands that aren't mine because that's the kind of guy I am. So I'm going to go ahead and say that they probably don't come back, but I also find that strange because if you smashed all the rocks on your island, what would you do? I haven't found a mechanic
I feel like
to get
they'd
them
have
back.
to come back, I feel like, so...
Yeah, they might have to. But then what happens if you break a rock, then you plant a tree where it was, right?
We're in too deep now. We're in too deep.
Yeah.
we'll test this. Bass Forever asks, does the game slowly lose the deserted island feeling as you slowly build out a city?
Yes. It absolutely does, but I like that. So I was afraid that as it became more like a traditional Animal Crossing village, that it would lose some sense of wonder to me. But instead, it feels like I'm basically walking through a city of my own achievements. Like, this is everything that you have is something that you made. And so you kind of have a sense of pride, like, oh, I remember, when I had to gather all the materials for that house. So it feels the same, but it hits different.
Okay. So the whole city is a monument to you, basically, is what you're saying?
Yes, it's a narcissist's paradise.
Nick asks, when starting new files with different accounts on the same console, do they have to share the same island?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
During the review period, I had two villagers, as it were, on my island, so I could test out the single console multiplayer, and you don't get a choice. You just start out on the existing island.
Okay. Kerbu asks, does the deserted island setting make the island feel more barren? There isn't a side area with a number of because there isn't a side area with a number of vendors anymore.
Oh, absolutely. But that's kind of the point.
Right.
it feels more barren because it's supposed to be. Like, the opening moments of this game are supposed to make you feel like you're roughing it. Like, you live in a tent, there's weeds everywhere, it's overgrown, it's frankly a little ugly. But that's kind of the motivation for you to clean it up and make it nice. But once you have a lot of the creature comforts, I didn't miss the city from earlier entries in the series.
Okay, good to know. We might have to speed up a little bit here because we have a lot more questions to get through.
All right. I'll keep them shorter.
Caster asks, how is playing at night only? Will there be enough for us to do?
At night, there's plenty to do. You can still catch bugs, fish. There are creatures that only come out at night, and NPCs generally seem to stick around all day.
Yeah, I've been playing mostly at night. It hasn't been too much of an issue, except for Nook's store shutting down after 10 p.m., I think, which can be a little annoying.
Yeah.
Matt Darian asks, is the music as catchy and memorable as it was in New Leaf?
Absolutely. I hum this stuff when I'm not playing the game, and I, each track is like an earworm. They're all really good. I love them.
All right, perfect. Get Lucky asks, does Resetti visit you in person if you repeatedly call rescue services?
That's a great question. I've called them 3 times. 2 of them were back to back, and he has never visited me. I have a suspicion that his model is not even in the game.
That is so sad. That really bums me out.
Yeah.
Andrew Man asks, will the game have enough day-to-day tasks to keep the player engaged?
I firmly believe so. I've been playing for 2.5 weeks. I don't plan on stopping. It's become part of my daily routine now. Watch the review if you want a more in-depth answer.
There you go. Brawls asks, are there any multiplayer minigames available similar to New Leaf?
So, I believe there are. I believe they're outlined in the direct, but I believe they're online only, which means I haven't played them.
Because we can't do online yet. That's all right. So stay tuned. We'll explore that more soon. Sam asks, any shops in the game that haven't been seen yet?
I don't think so. I think Nintendo may have outlined all the shops, but again, that is speculation. Who knows what can happen a month down the road from now?
5 years from now.
Or even a couple weeks.
3 decades from now. Who knows?
Exactly. The one grandma that's playing Animal Crossing in the year 2050 is going to get a new shop that none of us have.
And she'll be like, it'll be like a Wonka ticket or something where she just owns Nintendo at that point. It's a new corporate owner. Lord Jax 225 Pig asks, obviously you aren't there yet, but does it seem like the kind of game that has an endpoint in quotes? I say this because of the crafting system, and I'm worried it might make the game a little less infinite, also in quotes.
There is a section in the game that I'm not allowed to discuss that imparts a sense of finality, where, for lack of a better term, the narrative arc is over and you are free to do what you like for the rest of your time with the game. But I mean, it really just feels like a beginning, right? Because it's when you get a certain item that I can't talk about.
Yeah, it's probably kind of like getting the 3 Triforce, or the 3 what was it? The 3 things in the light world in A Link to the Past. Like, oh, I beat the game. Haha, no, you're just getting started. So,
yep, it is kind of like that.
The pendants, there we go. All right, Matthew asks, do you get to choose the color of your airport, or is it random?
I did not get to choose the color of my airport, no.
Yeah, if there's any parameter for it, we don't know what it is. So maybe it's tied to your name or something. I'm just speculating it probably isn't. Matthew Soderstrom asks, how many players can go online with one system? Example, how can you do 2 players with Mario Kart, or example, such as how you can do with 2 players in Mario Kart 8 online?
So, as we've said a couple times, we haven't been able to play online yet, so I don't have that answer, but I suspect it's just 1.
Yeah, how about when you're playing local? You can have up to 8, is that right, on one TV? Or is there a limit on that?
You can have up to 8 players via local wireless or on a single console.
Okay.
With Joy-Con.
Very cool. Joshua asks, I'm thinking about trying to play this game online with my grandmother to help her give her more activity and a weekly routine. Would it be easy for me to visit her island online without her having to do much? She's not very tech literate, but she's played a little of New Leaf. Thanks. Well, I guess, yeah, we haven't played online yet, so I don't think we can fully answer that question. We could speculate that you probably could do most things for her, but we don't know for sure, right?
Right. It's a little difficult to say because we haven't been able to try online out, so we don't know what the default permissions are, because in online mode, you can control what your friends are able to do on your island. You can limit them from cutting down your trees or breaking your rocks or whatever. But again, that's all based on what we've heard from Nintendo, because we ourselves haven't played it. But as far as her getting you onto her island, it should be pretty straightforward. you just go to the counter at your airport and talk to the guy and choose online play, and then just kind of tap A through the prompts until he opens the gate. So it should be easy to get you there. As far as managing permissions, we don't know what happens once you're there.
Yeah, I imagine the biggest difficulty would be just syncing up your play sessions with your grandmother, because presumably she has to be online for you to also visit her island, so yeah.
Right.
Malian asks, how frequently do special guest villagers show up? Once a day, or more like once every other day, or once a week?
In the time that I was playing, I had several visitors to my island. I don't think it's on a set schedule, because sometimes it would seem like they were coming one after the other. Other times I would go a couple days without seeing one. I'm sure there's some code that controls how often you see people, but I couldn't tell you if there's a rhyme or reason to it. But it felt like pretty often.
Yeah,
I would log in
I'd
and
say, probably.
Yeah, and you see them on the title screen, so you know immediately that they're there.
Oh wow, good tip. Nate Dogg asks, are public work projects back?
Yes and no. Later in the game, like towards, once you've upgraded things substantially, Tom Nook will give you the ability to decide on projects you want to fund. They're not really called public works projects, but that's really what they are. So you'll get a little kit, you'll put it out, Lloyd the Gyroid will collect bells, and then once he has the money, he builds the thing. So it's very similar.
LPG asks, with the mechanic of bringing new villagers to your island, is it random for the most part as to who actually moves in?
So there are two answers to that question. I've had villagers move in that I'd never seen before. I got Admiral later on, and I had never interacted with him before. But you can also choose which villagers move in once you have a campsite. If you bring a villager to your campsite, you'll have the opportunity to ask them to move in, and they'll decide whether or not they're going to. There's a way to make them move in, but we're not allowed to discuss it yet.
Okay. I think, too, if you visit, like, one of those mysterious islands, you can invite the inhabitants there, right, to your village?
Correct. If you get a Nook Miles ticket and you go to an island using it, then if you see a villager there that you like, you can invite them, and I've done that twice, and they've never said no. So I don't know if they do say no, or if, there's some criteria that you have to meet, or maybe I just got lucky twice, but...
Yeah, right. Maybe. Thomas asks, obviously you're probably going to be under embargo, but all I want to know is the stuff we haven't seen. So my question for you, Andre, or Steve, is do you think there's a fair amount of extra content in this game that we don't know about, or do you think we know pretty much everything? Thanks.
That's really hard, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sound like I know something that I don't. But I do think there's a lot we haven't seen. I say so in the review. And we don't know what the holidays look like. We don't know what Toy Day looks like. We don't know what any of those look like. And supposedly those are downloadable. So we won't know what they look like until they happen. Or until Nintendo makes the update available for those. So, I think there's a lot we haven't seen, but I wish I could give you a better answer.
Yeah, it should be noted too, there's only a few things specifically Nintendo won't let us talk about currently in the embargo. However, they also said we can't talk about anything beyond the review date of, in-game Animal Crossing time, which means who knows what else could be happening throughout the rest of the year that we just don't know about at this point. So yeah, we really don't know how much more content there is. But I can't say, talking to you, Steve, there seems to be a fair amount more even beyond what I've seen myself over the same course of playtime roughly, or, in terms of days, that, it seems to me that there's a lot going on even within our limited window so far, so...
Yeah, Andre and I have been comparing notes, and our experiences have been completely different. So, what you see will not equate to what your friends see, or vice versa. I don't think there's a way to recreate what your friends are seeing in the game. So, you might see stuff we haven't found yet.
Maybe. Paul asks, is diving back at all?
Not that I can tell.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about it, but again, we're only 18 days in. It very well could be that it is. I played on an island that was in summer, but it was my secondary island, so maybe I didn't unlock it, or maybe I didn't do something right to get it. But for me, speculatively, signs point to no.
Okay. Nintendo Fangirl asks, still trying to figure out if island, in quotes, is amended to your island name at any point before I call mine NFG Isle. NFG Isle Island doesn't quite have the same ring to it. So I can actually answer this one because I actually named my island GX Isle, and no, it doesn't make it redundant. It just calls it as if like they did town names in previous games. I've never seen them say GX Isle Island, I don't think. Or if they have,
They never say it, and I actually named mine just GameXplain, thinking that they'd call it GameXplain Island. And nope, it just sounds like people are referring to our channel all the time.
Yeah, which is hilarious in the video review. It's great. Are you Steve from GameXplain?
I am. This is getting very meta.
Funny you ask that. Wynn asks, how does decorating the island with furniture items work? Also, can you put images on furniture, and what kind of limitations have you faced with it?
All right, so I'm not an artist, so I haven't done a ton with the custom design tool, and because during the review period, the Nintendo Switch Online app doesn't have the Animal Crossing update, so we can't scan QR codes to get better stuff than we can draw. And so Tom, who is incredibly talented, could draw me something, but I wouldn't be able to use it. But you can put images on as face paint. I ended up making some scars for my character and putting them on his face. You can put them on clothes, furniture, you name it. There are really very few limitations. Once you unlock customization, you can put a pattern on most things.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Marissa asks, I saw a video that villagers can craft in the game. Can they?
Yes and no. Like, villagers like to pantomime doing all kinds of things. You'll see them walking around with a net or with a fishing rod, but they're never actually catching anything. Right. And the same goes for crafting. Sometimes you'll go into their house and you'll see them working away at a workbench, but they're not really making anything.
Those lazy villagers. Sam asks, can you move your house, villagers' homes, or any other facilities like the museum once they've been built?
Yes, you can. So towards the end of the review period, I actually moved my own home because it was on the beach, and that seemed cool at first. And then it wasn't when it came time to build fences.
I made the exact same mistake.
You have to pay a fee. Say what?
I made the exact same mistake. It's like, I want like waterfront property. The thing is, you can't actually see it from the house, so it's such a waste. And
yeah, only in Animal Crossing do you buy a beachfront house and they put it facing towards the wrong way.
It's so true, and it's such a pain to run back from the other half of the island, you know. So next time I build a house, it's going the exact middle of the island. It's always within reach.
Oh yeah, I moved mine right next to resident services.
Exactly.
And then I moved the store next to that.
No, that's the way to do it.
So you can move them. You have to have Isabel, because she helps you with that. Or once Isabel joins your island, that ability unlocks around the same time. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say how. Mm-hmm. But you do have to pay, like, I think it's 30,000 bells to move your house, and it's even more than that to move a business.
Okay, good to know. Raddy Sparks asks, what are... actually, this is one that we've already answered. So, moving on. Salty asks, this is probably a dumb question, but can we still in-game chat like previous games without having to use the NSO app like they showed in the Direct?
Yes, you can. All you have to do is you have to push the R trigger on your... or the R shoulder button on your Pro Controller or on your Joy-Con, and it'll bring up an on-screen keyboard.
Okay, perfect. Eclipse asks, is the game friendly to people who have never played Animal Crossing?
I think Animal Crossing in general is friendly to people who have never played Animal Crossing. It's very self-explanatory. It doesn't beat you over the head with tutorials because it's pretty simple from a mechanical perspective. There's not like tricks, you know, it's not a hard game to figure out. And I introduced my girlfriend to Animal Crossing for the very first time, and she is currently playing it at a pretty good clip while I'm recording this video.
All right, perfect. There you go. That answers your question in real time. CMM1215 asks, are you able to change your character's name and your island's name later?
I do not believe so. I've not sought the option out because I picked the names I wanted, and it's not likely to change, but I have not seen any place in the game where I could do that. And I feel like if it were an option, I would have had it available to me by now.
To that point, the game warns you when you first start that you can't change your island's name later. So
there you go.
Austin asks, do the other islands that you can visit have different seasons than your own island? So that specifically means the Nook Miles Islands, mysterious
right.
islands.
That's a great question. So I think, Andre, you've had a little more success with Nook Miles tickets than I have, because every single island I've visited has had the same fruit as my island and basically the same climate. So I can't really speak to that.
Actually, I was wrong myself. I've had the same too.
Wow.
The only new fruit, if you want to call it that, I got were coconuts. And those just seem to be on most of the islands. So, I didn't get to see anything particularly special.
So, yeah, I can't say for sure, but it feels like the answer might be no. But again, once millions of people are playing this, that could be completely different. We're talking about two guys that have had it for a couple weeks. Like, I wouldn't call it definitive by any stretch.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dr. Hives asks, or actually, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to Nintendo Lee, who asks, how hard is it to unlock the museum?
So we are bound by embargo not to give details on it, but in terms of an overall level of difficulty, I would say it's pretty easy.
It's like a 2 out of 20.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very easy. Yeah. So I don't think you're going to have to work too hard, and they explain it to you very clearly.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long. Dylan asks, have you seen Brewster yet? If so, where is he and what is he up to?
I have not seen Brewster. However, I don't know if it'll be live by the time this video goes live. I'm going to say that it probably won't be, but we will be testing out every single Amiibo, including Brewster. So Amiibo cards, and that'll tell us whether he's in the game in some capacity. But I have not seen him during the review period, no.
Okay. Boomer asks, is there any way to view an instance of other people's islands similar to how the Dream Suite worked in New Leaf?
So that's really hard to say because online isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Nintendo would have outlined that in a direct by now. All we know is that you can visit other islands. I haven't seen a way to visit one offline. So I would be inclined to say that is not in the game.
I think you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but Bugman asks, how long before you get to terraform?
A while. So, the island designer, which is what I believe you're referring to, is one of the hardest things to unlock in the game.
Yeah,
it takes a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and the game does not do a great job of telling you how to get it. It's kind of a surprise at a certain point. And again, as I mentioned before, I'm not allowed to give details on how to unlock really anything, but I can say it's very difficult. And, I would say time-wise, you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 hours, if not more.
Yeah, that sounds probably right, and that's only if you know what to do. So I've probably put in that amount of time, and I've seen no sign of it. So, all right, final question. Kirby the Trickster says, or asks, what's the max limit of villagers you can have live on your island? Thanks.
Oh, that's a really good question. I can't tell you because I haven't hit it yet.
So how many do you have?
I want to say 7 on my island right now, including myself and a second human player.
All right, and with that, we're done here. That's all the questions we have time to answer, or pretty much most of the ones we got actually. But a lot of redundant questions in there, so hopefully this was informative to you. Yeah, if you liked what you saw, make sure to click that subscribe button for tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons, including upcoming strategy guides, tip videos, discussions, I'm sure, and of course make sure to check out our review if you haven't already for our in-depth thoughts on what we thought of the game itself. And with that, we'll catch you later. Bye.